Good morning and welcome back to ASL's HR in 10.
At 10.
I'm Jason Perry,
And I'm Kimberly Bradshaw.
and it seems like ages, Kimberly, since we sat down. I kind of went on holiday and you were ill, and
Yeah, and I've been on holiday and yeah, it's just been crazy the last few weeks. But hey, here we are, extra shiny.
indeed. So I've got a strange echo going on here with the sound is not quite working as it should. So I don't know what's going on there. Hopefully it's transmitting all right. Let's start and talk a bit about pay transparency, shall we?
Yes, I really support this. It's come about the Cabinet Office Equality Hub have said they want more transparency on pay. And, for me, I come across a lot of undermining of employee engagement
Mm.
because somebody finds out that somebody else doing a similar job is on a different level. And, you know, I think it's really important that people are transparent about their pay.
Yes. I mean, I have to say, to be perfectly honest, I didn't know the Cabinet Office had an equality hub. I, I kind of feel that should have been in I'm showing my age now. The department I still think should be called the Department of Trade and Industry. Um, I, I kind of feel that's a business area and not a Cabinet Office area. But this is being driven by there, isn't it? And they're effectively saying they don't want job adverts without salary information.
Yes, to be fair, it's hard not to give salary information in a job advert anyway, because if you use an online platform, for example, which, obviously I would recommend people come to
Yeah.
us for their recruitment, but if they didn't and they used an online platform, you have to, even if you don't put the salary, you have to put a band. So people know
Yeah.
pretty much what it is. And if they want
Well,
the upper band,
funnily enough, I absolutely agree with the concept. And the way in which I've described it to many clients, many employers over the years, is putting a job on a job board is a bit like selling your house on Rightmove. And if you don't put your salary information in, it's not that they will look at it and decide not to apply. It's they'll never see the ad because it won't come up in their search results. So an ad without salary can be done, but it really is rather stupid because you get such a narrow range of candidates even seeing your ad, let alone applying. So I do, I mean, I agree with the government, but I'm going to kind of say for all the wrong reasons.
you, Jason, surely not.
But I mean, I think it's a no-brainer that not putting salary is a daft way of going about it. But what they're actually trying to do is effectively level up and create some equality, isn't it? By saying, you know, asking somebody about their salary and pitching an offer based on that is wrong. They should be basing it on the merit of the job and the role they're seeking to fill.
Yeah, and the skills, what their
Yes.
skills are worth, and that kind of thing. And yeah, for me, as we've been talking about this, what's been going through my head in the background is that, employers typically they put a band because actually if they and they ask about previous salary because if they can possibly put somebody at the lower band, the lower part of the band, they will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas, a lot of clients we work with, we do salary benchmarking and
Yes.
we make it open and we say, right, this is what the data shows us.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very interesting move, and we actually had a discussion about it yesterday, and I still feel that it is one of the useful markers because whilst there are many ways of talking to somebody about their experience, their skill set, and assessing them, salary is a good marker to verify that you're on the right tracks and you've understood where somebody is. Because if somebody's describing a senior role to you that they've done, and then at the end of it they tell you they were paid £20,000 a year for it, you kind of question whether or not their role was as senior as that. Therefore, if you go back to the principle of assessment centres, you try and verify the information you're looking for in multiple ways to give your table, as it were, many legs on which it will stay stood up.
Yeah.
And I think salary is still a perfectly good one of those legs to validate it.
It is, and I think also using a competency matrix would help
Yes,
because you can show exactly, if you have this, and this, that means that you're worth that.
yes,
And there might still be a little band, but it could be, when you first join versus, when you've been there a couple of years.
indeed.
So, and obviously that band will change because salary levels
Yeah,
change, but I think it's a great thing, and I think there's a lot of
yes.
support we can give our clients around this as well.
Yes, yeah, no, but an interesting one again. We're seeing lots of little changes come out of government. Actually, we'll pick up on that in a minute. But before we do, the other thing that really caught my attention, I don't know if you saw it this week, was we've talked about this before, home working or flexible workers getting less in the way of personal development. Did you pick up on that one?
I did, and I absolutely cannot understand how that has been achieved, because any L&D that I've done or we've
Mm,
done for clients, it includes the remote workers,
yes,
and you find a way. Obviously, COVID, we still did L&D, we just
mm,
did it in a different way. So
yes.
how are they not getting the training?
Do you know what? I think this might be an HR in 10 first. I'm going to disagree with you. I'm not at all
No.
surprised. And the reason I'm not at all surprised is I think at a high level, if you have the right resources, the right skills, and by that, obviously, I mean a Kimberly or a Jason on your team, then yes, you put all those checks and balances and you make sure. But I think it is so easy to have somebody who is only in the team 1 day a week. They aren't getting the one-to-one support from a coach that, what we used to call sitting next to Nelly or whatever back in the day. They're not getting that level of support. They're going to get missed out on some degree of noticing things. And unless you restructure, you and I have talked about this so many times, the line management skills. So we actually have people learning to manage people properly despite the work setting. You're not going to know what the gaps are and how to deliver the learning.
No, exactly. And, that speaks to training for managing remote workers,
Yep.
for managers. But also, it's very topical. I was talking to a client only recently, and they've identified which of their roles could potentially be hybrid working,
Mm.
but they're struggling with how people pick up what you've just said,
Yes.
information around the office. They don't
Mm.
hear people dealing with something and learn
Yes.
from it. They don't see necessarily the bigger picture. It's much more transactional
Mm.
on output basis. So I think this is a really big topic that will fly
Mm.
in time.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, and I think what comes out of this, to me, is some of what you and I have been saying for some time, of companies need to think about how they transition to hybrid working or home working, because I have no doubt that's the long-term future. You've only got to look at our town centres anywhere now to realise that people are not travelling to work in the same way that they once did. So it's big, it's there, it's going to stay. We have to change the way in which we manage people, the way in which we support managers, so that they can focus. Otherwise, I think we're going to see some real case law tribunals on people who have been disadvantaged. I mean, is it unthinkable that we find that, I don't know, more mums do home working than dads and they miss out on training, and we have a sex discrimination claim down the road in a tribunal because they didn't get the career progression? Or
I know, and I think the other problem comes from the L&D professional side as well, because I am one of those, and
hmm,
all the evidence out there says that people take more away and are more proactive with what they learn if it's done in a face-to-face setting.
yeah,
So, it's about marrying the two
mm,
lines of thinking, isn't it?
it is indeed. It is indeed. Look, there's one other we HR in 10, and here we are, sort of getting
Featuring
towards
on
that.
11.
But yeah, we do HR in 11. It's fine. There's one other thing that really caught my attention this week. I want to squeeze in if we can. The all-party parliamentary group.
I think this is fabulous. They're looking at modernising employment.
Yeah.
Um, Quite how, we don't know yet, but I really, as you said earlier when we were chatting before we started, they've got industry experts, lords,
Yeah.
MPs. I'd like to hear that they've got some professionals in there as well, people that actually know what they're
Yeah,
talking about.
apparently so, but it's early days. I guess what I take away from this, and I'm cautiously slightly cynical, forgive me. This is about 12 months out from a general election, and suddenly we've got an all party parliamentary group with a Labour chair. I, but it is all party, and that does give me hope because a Conservative project at this point probably would be doomed, in fairness.
Yeah.
The idea that we've brought it together and we're looking at how we're going to modernise the processes, the workflows, the way in which employment and recruitment works in modernising employment. If they actually do a half decent job, this has to be a great thing in driving our economy and growth forward, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I think what's interesting is they've really picked up on some of the messages that came through on the manifesto from the Conservatives recently. That's not a political statement. I'm
Yep.
just reiterating something that came out. But, things like getting more over 50s back into the
Yes.
office.
Yeah.
Making it fully inclusive for
Yes.
everybody, being more flexible. Uh,
Speeding up the process being
yeah,
a massive thing given the checks that so many employers are doing now. So, yeah, I think this is one to watch. But being HR in 10, we're out of time, surprisingly.
what a surprise, Jason.
Yes,
We could talk for years, you and
we
I.
could indeed. Kimberly, it's been an absolute pleasure and lovely to be back doing this again. And we will be back next week.
Look forward to it. See you next week. Bye
Thanks
bye.
for watching. Bye bye for now.